Well, the former England cricketer Monty Panesar joins us now in the studio. Very good morning to you. Here we are. We're talking about this. I've seen you talking about this for several days. And now we have another allegation. Did you sense, watching the news conference with the new chairman yesterday, that someone is about to get a grip on this?
Yeah, I think Lord Patel. It seems like the perfect person, to a point, as the chairman. He did a great job yesterday at his press conference, and he's obviously wants to take some strong actions because he knows that there's a lot of work needs to be done at Yorkshire County Cricket Club, and he's willing to listen to any people that come forward about any sort of racial discrimination they've experienced during the time at Yorkshire County Cricket Club.
Do you have confidence that they can clear this up?
Well, I think it's going to take time. I think he would need support from other leadership groups as well, and I think Azeem Rafiq is trying to. He wants the executive board to be dismissed and also the coaching staff. That's something I think for Lord Patel to decide, because he can't do it on his own. He needs to work out what's the right people to stay here, and if he wants a fresh start, that's entirely up to him. But I think there's adequate support from the ECB. To support Yorkshire through this, tough process.
It was fascinating watching him yesterday, given his own background. At the heart of what he said is the statements made to Azeem Rafiq and others can never be termed as banter, and that has been the problem all along. And he said he grew up with similar phrases being shouted at him. In your time, where was the line between banter and insult? Well, if there was one.
Yeah, look, no one ever used the P word, towards me. So for me, I was quite surprised to hear that. But then again, we've heard Yorkshire have always been quite stubborn in their ways to, for change and, diversity.
So this is a Yorkshire issue rather than a more widespread cricket issue, is it?
I, at the moment, do believe it's more of a Yorkshire issue. But Surrey have also, put a message out for any Surrey cricketers in the past, who are playing right now, any employees who faced any sort of discrimination. Please come forward and talk about this, and I expect other counties to follow, because I think all counties will be trying to get their house in order, and also trying to learn from any experiences that may have gone wrong in the past for them.
Is it about getting their house in order, or are they nervous of there being a scandal and they're trying to get ahead of it?
Well, look, I think what's happening from this, Rafiq issue is that they don't want sponsors to pull out. They don't want, any funding by the ECB
to be... Is that their motivation, rather than trying to tackle racism? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Well, it's racism and finance, because both things are hand in hand. One of the challenges that Lord Patel is going to face is that Yorkshire are already under £18 million of debt. Plus, they're going to be another £6 million if they don't have international cricket and they don't get their sponsors back. So how is Lord Patel going to tackle the whole situation without any finance?
The hardest question he faced yesterday, and one he sat there and you could see him trying to work out what the right answer was, but he was asked directly, should anybody at Yorkshire who's ever said anything racist, been guilty of the crossing that line, should they ever play for Yorkshire again? And he said, we're going to have to think about that. What do you think?
I think that's slightly of a harsh punishment. I think maybe suspension, and give him some education, and then try and, give him an opportunity to play again. Just completely putting a line through them, I think, that's a bit of a harsh punishment, if you ask me.
How do you think the players are feeling?
I think the players are quite nervous. They're probably thinking, have I said something in the past? We don't know what these allegations are. So there's 43, obviously allegations, and some of the players will be thinking, have I said something that was, out of context? Is there something that, will haunt me, what I've said, in the past? Twitter is another thing that, I'm sure companies will be going through. So we've got to also, be quite clear as well. We can't just, just hang players out dry when they, haven't said anything that is racist either.
So you think the players are more concerned about their own individual reputations rather than sort of pain of what's happened to the club in general?
Well, I think there's issue understanding, diversity and inclusivity. What does that mean, to individual player, and what does it mean to the organisation? And sometimes, that is a different definition, different parts of the world. You know, you go up north to south, I think there's a slight divide.
Doesn't depend on colour either, does it? Because with the case in Yorkshire, we were talking about a Zimbabwean player who felt he had been racially abused as well.
Yeah.
And yet that's sort of been played over.
Well, this is what I mean. This is a real complex situation where, you know, some, like Gary Balance is trying to argue that we were two close friends who were under the, you know, term of, you know, banter. I thought I was okay to use the P word towards him, and he was okay to use, like, you know...
We've come back to it, haven't we, about what is banter. We've had an email from someone saying, what does banter actually mean? And when anybody who's seen a cricket game anywhere, you know, sledging goes on, some things are... That's banter, but sometimes that's quite fierce.
Yeah, that's like obviously sledging and, you know, things you say to each other, but in the past, you know, players have, you know, come out and said if there was a racist term used, they would say, go to the umpire, they'll tell the officials.
They'd call it out.
And they would, yeah, absolutely, you know, call that out. And, you know, I think going forward, you know, there must be some other players who want to talk about this. And the ECB, you know, have you know, set up a hotline until December the 21st, you know, to get any players to encourage them. And if there are any players out there, please, you know, don't be shy, you know, pick up the phone and talk about your experiences, because I think that's what, you know, cricket wants to learn from your individual experiences.
Do you think it really does?
I think cricket, you know, I think cricket now is a time where we've seen that there's a disparity. You know, there's over 30 to 40% of British Asians playing in recreational cricket, but only 3% are coming through, which is like, what, 22 players. There's over 500 professional players playing. And if we looked at, you know, the comparison of what's at recreational into professional cricket, there should be over, what, if I get my maths right, about 160 players from British Asian, you know, a background should be playing the professional game.
But who've come through the British system, and this is what's important, isn't it? That have come through the British grassroots, haven't come from abroad, taken up citizenship. We're talking about people who've played here all their lives.
Well, I think that's an absolutely brilliant point from you, because you look at the England team right now, we have Jofra Archer and Chris Jordan, who are actually from West Indies. But how many of the players are from, you know, the British Afro-Caribbean community who are born in this country are playing for England?